Welcome, one and all, to the Dane Nichols Show. I just got done recording this one, you guys, with Kelly Browne, a treasure of the Sacramento comedy scene. I didn't know how to feel about uploading this one. This is a very human podcast. I think I very clearly wanted something out of Kelly this episode. Kelly is extremely well educated and has had a very extensive and diverse career, and continues to have a very diverse and significant art career in Sacramento, and I'm really hungry to learn right now. Kind of for the first time in my life, I'm really invested in school, and for the first time in my life, I'm really hungry for an academic path. You know, I'm excited to pursue. I'm excited to have that other path besides comedy, and I'm really hungry to learn, and I'm hungry for debate, and I really wanted, I really want debate and such. Sorry, I just got distracted. There's a dude with a fucking sword outside. He looks like a nerd. I'm gonna assume it's for LARPing. But we're gonna have Kelly on again and talk about maybe some other stuff. There's good stuff on here, but I think I was maybe Kelly was a little bit nervous, and I don't think I don't think my aggressive kind of hunger for debate and information gathering really helped that. But Kelly encouraged me that it's fine to put this up, and it's a very human podcast. There's lots of I definitely learned. I definitely got what I wanted. I definitely learned. There's a lot of very human moments on here. At one point, Kelly said something to the effect of, "You'll hear it when you get to the interview," but she said something about the recent, police, the recent, more public instances of police brutality, the protests, kind of the arising protests, and I think she introduced it saying that like it was a turning point for her or something, and then I kind of this is kind of like a selfish part that I want to not include, but I'm going to include it just for the sake of honesty. I sort of misinterpret what she says, I think, as like her saying that police brutality is the biggest issue, and I kind of don't even necessarily strongly disagree with that. I just kind of wanted to debate, and I tend to be more focused on economics, on like getting food in people's bellies and giving people health care and stuff like this, and of course Kelly agrees with me on all that, I was trying to sort of amateurly kind of set up a like woke identity-based leftism versus like socialistic leftism debate, since it seemed like Kelly, for a second, I kind of misinterpreted her as like wanting to stake out a side on the other side. So I just stupidly kind of tried to incite a debate, and in the process kind of probably minimized the very real issue of the fact that I did kind of recover, but just let's be very clear, America's a racist nation. Police brutality is a huge issue, but I just think that that departments like can just do some pretty basic common sense things, and like if there's, and then beyond that, basic common sense things like bachelor's degrees for police, body cameras that have to be on, stuff like that. More, judicial accountability, which I mentioned, which, Chauvin case is obviously a victory. I hesitate to, say that it's as much of a victory as some say, but, that I think the initial steps of, like, bachelor's degrees for police, like Madison has, and body cameras seem like they would help a lot, and they seem to help a lot in the departments that have that. And like, so if we can just get that shit everywhere, and then beyond that, like the defunding thing and like having it be like the long term, I think it's gonna be like a decades long political goal if we want to get to a point where it's like traffic stops are like unarmed, public servants. I think that would be a good place to aim for, but let's be real, guys. That's a decades-long political goal, probably. Fight for it. But But then my whole thing is just like, everyone has different things that's most important to them. For me, it's economic stuff. I want people to be fed. I want people to have health care. That's number one. Even over climate change, which is different from, how I used to feel. It's hard to compare these short and long-term threats, but that's it. That's I think you'll have to see if you like this one. You will just have to see if you like this interview with Kelly Browne. I think, Kelly's awesome. And I think she definitely shines. So, enjoy.
And
Kelly Browne.
Gary's there tonight. I will thank him for the wine.
Yeah, we're drinking Gary G. Whoops. Gary G. Well, whatever. It's you didn't hear anything. Gary G's wine. So we have a cross-episode cohesion. Gary brought the wine, now Kelly's drinking it because Kelly's a big wine drinker. I'm not ready for wine yet today, and also I'm not ready for wine yet today, so Kelly's having the wine, and I'm drinking coffee, as I usually do, to start these podcasts. But okay, I want to start with your background, growing up, the types of stuff that you're just describe to me your earliest, the earliest art you got into, the earliest cultures you identified with, the ways that your parents' philosophies, where you kind of started. And could you please turn the AC off? Just lift the lid, and you might have to pull the couch back a little bit.
Not at all.
Yeah. Lift the lid and then hit the gray button. Yeah.
Okay, did you say what my name was?
I did right at the beginning, but this is a little bit of real life here, and I'm sure I'll say, Kelly Browne on the podcast today, turning the AC off. Some low stakes drama.
Off. There you go.
Sweet, thank you so much. You're our unpaid intern, the Dane Nichols Show's unpaid intern. Sweet.
I was born in Little Rock, Arkansas, raised in Arkansas, Georgia, Mississippi. My parents were, my dad was always a salesman. He started off selling insurance. My parents had a very odd sense of humor. For one thing, they named their cats after losing presidential candidates.
Mm-hmm. Whoever lost, consistently.
Well, they didn't want the cats to get too confident.
Okay, yeah, right.
You know how those cats can be.
Totally. Cats need to stay in their place. All of our cats, with our cats growing up, my cats, there were always issues with cats getting territorial and peeing on things, and cats just in general are Machiavellian. You have to keep them in their place.
They're too smart. But anyway, the one cat was named Eugene Victor Debs, who, as you know, ran for president 5 times from prison.
Oh, you told me this. Yeah.
That's when we first met. That's
yeah.
what I.
Someone who Bernie Sanders is a fan of.
Yes,
Yeah.
Bernie Sanders has Eugene Victor Debs' portrait in his office, and he moves it whenever he moves. Another one was Wendell Willkie. Are you familiar with Wendell Willkie? He was actually a Democrat, turned into a Republican. Really good friends with Roosevelt.
Okay, FDR?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes. And he was, I guess you'd say, an interventionist as opposed to an isolationist. He's the main reason he was the candidate anyway. He's the main reason we got in World War II and, say on the side with Britain, save Britain, blah, blah, blah. That's, anyway.
Okay. That was really the
very
last.
Interesting.
That was the last justifiable United States foreign intervention in my mind. The most recent justifiable one would have to be World War II. I would say.
Yeah.
Okay. So
we were talking about
interesting senses of you come from Little
sorry.
Rock, Arkansas. Your parents had interesting senses of humor.
Yes.
The Eugene Debs, were you a fan early on?
Well, yeah. My father was very conservative, and we used to argue all the time. And we loved each other. That's how we communicated. That was a good thing, arguing.
Yeah.
And a lot of it was Clinton, because Bill Clinton was there. He was like Attorney General first. And I was a big fan of Hillary because she was there. Her name was Hillary Rodham. She worked for the Rose Law Firm, which was the biggest law firm in Little Rock. I actually interviewed there.
Rose Law Firm do?
All kinds of stuff. It was the biggest law firm.
Generally,
in Little
though,
Rock.
were they on the side of the people or the man?
I probably more on the side of the people than a lot of other places because it's smaller.
Okay.
But probably the man. Anyway, she was like my idol, and of course my father hated Hillary, but he hated Bill Clinton with the passion of 1,000 burning suns. And
why? Because he was cool.
He just thought, because he was liberal and my dad was conservative. Although my dad he was a libertarian. He wrote tons of letters to the editor. He wanted to legalize marijuana in 1975.
I love libertarian unity. I love these ballot initiatives where you have these drugs going on ballots. Anytime you have drug legalization go on the ballot, it always passes because generally the public sphere, it leans very libertarian, whether it's a left or a right libertarianism. We want freedom.
Yes.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
I will not take off on something else. I won't, I promise.
No. If you had something to add about libertarian unity, then
well,
please.
it's in Arkansas. They recently approved medical marijuana, legalized medical marijuana, and they did it by amending the Constitution. And the reason they did it by amending the Constitution is because every time they did it before, the legislature would reverse it. So that's an example of the people,
yeah, that's great,
as opposed to the legislature.
That's it, and that's exactly it. Anytime we're talking about legalizing drugs, it's a question of democracy or not. If we had I'm sure if we had a ballot measure in California, for instance, to legalize all drugs, it would totally pass, right? Because it's a common sense thing to do. Legalize and regulate it, treat it like a public health issue, which
right,
it is.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's not doing anything. Highly recommend the work of Carl Hart, it's kind of funny. He talks about his recreational heroin usage, but he's an advocate for drug legalization across the board, and he's an intellectual.
In Oregon or something?
In Oregon, I believe they definitely, more and more places are legalizing mushrooms, or at least decriminalizing magic mushrooms. So, and I think Oregon might have decriminalized all drugs. So I would go even further and legalize all drugs. That way, the addicts that we still do have around aren't buying from these these drug dealer, these drug dealers, and instead buy from, at least, they can get safe heroin. As funny as that sounds.
No, I get it. Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely. Totally in agreement there. Awesome. So you argued with your dad a lot about Clinton. It was because there wasn't as broad of a field of the left back then, right? It was just like if you're into Democrats, you're on the left.
I forgot. My grandmother, my mother's mother, she taught at UALR, University of Arkansas at Little Rock. And she was a teacher. And she actually taught first grade for 30 years. But Browne versus Board of Education, right?
With no way.
Central High School. Remember how they?
Is that is that connected to your lineage, Browne?
The story is. Yes, I'm about to tell the story.
Okay, all right. I'll shut up.
So they're okay. So they.
Are you about to say that you're related to the Browne in Browne v. Board of Education?
No.
Okay.
They called in the National Guard to bring the black children into the school, and anyway, they closed down the school.
Arkansas history.
But this is fake. This is nationally famous.
Right. Yeah. I remember learning about it. Yeah.
So anyway, the schools were closed, right, and they did not want to integrate the schools. So there was this organization called. And my grandmother was a founding member of this organization called the Women's Emergency Committee. And they were instrumental in opening the schools again. And they were a protest organization. They would do things like, they had a sex committee, which
sounds fun.
They held out on their husbands until their husbands said that they would come out in favor of integration.
Oh, that's awesome.
Because it was Southern ladies of a certain age.
That's a great way to do politics.
Yeah. And then they, but it was very dangerous because they had like a membership list, and they would pass it from home to home every night because they got death threats. So, it was serious. It wasn't just the sex kit. And nobody knew who the members were until they did a memorial to it in Arkansas. Hillary Clinton was there. It doesn't matter.
No, that sounds very cool. I'm not a Hillary Clinton fan at all, but once upon a time, she was a symbol of being on a more progressive side of things.
Oh, everything she did to further her own political ambition, which I'm not a fan anymore. But,
right. That's okay to have fun spin though.
She could have gotten fired. My grandmother. They could have all gotten fired because they were firing the teachers. They could have all kinds of things.
So you are connected to your dad was conservative, but your grandma was cool, which
she was my mother's.
On your mother's side, so your mom was more liberal.
Yes.
Okay.
Definitely.
All right. Definitely. Tell me about your mom then.
Oh God. She was when I think of her, she was just beautiful. She was tiny. She weighed like 88 pounds. She was 5'4". She had very thick hair, very black hair, thick and gray eyes, real gray eyes.
Oh wow!
And she had a bookstore.
Wow.
And she ran a bookstore, and my dad said she used to take in strays, and she would always make friends or take an interest in people that didn't have anyone else, that maybe didn't have friends, or something. She would take people in. I just, the whole socialist, let's all.
Yeah, totally.
That was her thing, and that's
awesome.
I'm the same way, I think.
So how does she get together with your conservative dad then?
Oh,
how does that work?
It was college. He probably wasn't that way. They were probably neither as formed in their. They were young. Yeah, I got married right after. And that's so young.
Yeah.
That is so young. I had just turned 21. I had taken like my last final on a Friday, got married on a Saturday, and left Arkansas on a Sunday and never went back.
And that's similar age as when your parents got married?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I have all these letters that my father wrote to my mother, like almost whenever they were apart, every day.
Yeah.
From that time before they were married till the time he died of congestive heart failure at the age of 60.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And I'm 60, so.
So take your omega-3s.
Yeah.
Don't do so much of what we just did before the podcast.
But it was sad. And
it always is.
Yeah. I've never seen.
Well, okay, so
they loved each other.
Of course,
and,
yeah. Well, and okay, so I think that's I think that's a reasonably commonish story. The more, whether or not it's in terms of explicit politics, but like there'll be a parent that's a little bit more liberal and one that's more conservative, and I think it maybe is common for it to be the mom that's liberal and
these were their personalities.
Right, exactly.
Their personality. My mother was take care of everybody, and my father was very independent.
It comes from your values, right?
He was always a salesman, and I hated that because, whether we had any money was dependent upon how much you sell.
Yeah. One of many shitty jobs that we've all had to endure because of capitalism.
But if you're independent, you like that sort of thing.
But if you have a family, then, like you're saying, that's too bad.
I used to, he would play poker and make money, and I'd come home and pick up the money, that was my allowance.
I've had friends who've had relationships with their parents like that, where the folks will leave out money, and it's just kind of understood that you can take it,
And I would come home, and if there was food in the refrigerator, I would have lunch.
Yeah.
If not,
anyway, I feel like knowing what it's like to be hungry as maybe helped to radicalize you as a leftist, right? I mean, because that's really what it's about. Socialism is everyone should have health care, everyone should have enough to eat. It's very simple.
My health care, my mother was sick a lot, and she racked up, millions of dollars in hospital bills, whatever. They didn't have insurance. They didn't have health insurance back then. This was 40 years ago. And he didn't work for a place anyway, and I don't think they provided insurance back then normally anyway. So anyway, it ended up bankrupting them. I'm like totally for universal health care.
It's just obvious, all of our lives are equally valid. The things that we look to as examples of exceptionalism all have something to do with some amount of privilege, right? So we need to take care, like that, just the notion that it's a philosophical thing. Like, if you value human life, then it's gotta be like, of course, like, it's just ridiculous that, that it's, that healthcare is a commodity. It's absurd, just period. It's absurd that healthcare is a commodity. It should just be that you can, maybe cosmetic procedures should be somewhat commodified, whatever, but stuff that's like, in terms of like your life, your well-being, like,
if you're gonna
die, of course, it's just absurd. We need to take care of our fellow humans.
Yes.
Absolutely. Solidarity.
Yes. And one more thing is I never heard country music until I was in college. Never heard it. My parents played opera and show tunes. Oh. And my father was always in community theater and an actor. And so I used to hang around with him. I would go hang around, while they rehearsed. And
you were on theater a lot.
It's getting up on stage is a love.
Yeah, you learned that from your dad.
Yeah.
Nice. Wow, that's sweet. Well, Okay, so you know, amateur actor and life insurance salesman dad. And what did your mom do for work again? Remind me.
Oh, she was a teacher.
You're a teacher. That's right. That's right. Badass. Teacher, right?
My
or
grandmother.
Yeah.
My mom didn't teach that long. I mean, she taught.
And what did she teach?
She taught first grade, second grade, third grade. But see, all the women back then were teachers.
Mm.
If you were anything, you were a teacher.
Yeah.
It was the only decent job for a woman.
Yeah.
So she didn't work the whole time though. She wasn't like a lifetime teacher. She just did it whenever.
Yeah.
Earn extra money. So.
Right. Yeah.
And then she had the bookstore, and the bookstore was.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So it makes sense. You do come from a very artistic, very quaint, cool background. Yeah. The mom with the bookstore, the teaching first grade or grade school in general. That's all super cool. So let's get into like when you first started to kind of make friends. What were your friends like, and what sort of things did you do in your early adolescence and your coming of age? What was that like?
Well, I never, because we moved so much, I never went to the same school twice until I was in junior high. So for the first 10, 11, 12 years of my life, I went to however many different schools, and I learned very quickly I was always the new person. And
well, it just is what it is. If you're always moving, you're always new.
But I'm actually very, very shy. But I learned that if I was going to make friends, then I had to be brave, and I had to go up and talk to people. Hi, my name is Kelly, blah, blah, blah. And so, that's how I did it. It was to have friends. And so that was the kind of, and I would make jokes and stuff like that, but forcing yourself to.
Jokes as a defense mechanism.
As a way to get people to like me.
Right, connect.
Or just talking to people because that was not a.
Yeah. I think Conan said that when you or maybe it was somebody who was on Conan's podcast said that when you learn that you're funny, it's like learning that there's like a laser beam that you can shoot out of your head. Like it's you can make someone laugh. I mean, you can make someone have a voluntary or an involuntary response. It's cool. Well, all right. So So you're always moving, always the new kid. But was there? So you're very shy, but you were able to, talk to some people. What sorts of people were you attracted to? Who did you end up?
In school.
Hanging out with? Yeah.
I hung out in junior high. I hung out with the smart kids, and I was always in high school. I was smart, but I didn't try, and so I had like Fs.
Yeah.
But and I was pretty wild. I did lots of things I of course took all kinds of drugs.
Mm-hmm. As you should. It's
right. Yeah. And then I if I stayed out.
But if there are any kids listening, wait until your brain is developed. That's the actual advice.
Oh, well, I would end up in the city jail. And
from benders.
From what?
Benders. From benders.
I would just be hanging out with people and stay out too late. Once you stay out too late.
Yeah, that's called a bender. I don't know if you knew that. That's a little bit of youth slang.
More of it that I don't understand. But anyway, it was a small place. And so Daddy would come and pick me up in the morning, and nobody ever charged me with anything. They'd let you out, right?
Yeah.
And because the other kids were like, one of them was like the mayor's son. Nothing was gonna happen.
You had an in. It sounds like you had a pretty privileged upbringing.
It was.
In a lot of ways.
Yeah, it was.
I mean, it sucks to have to move a lot. I mean, that sounds like the classic daddy is a life insurance salesman upbringing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's in the movie Boyhood, one of my favorite movies. The kid's his biological dad, at least, is a life insurance salesman and always traveling around. Yeah, it's a thing, I guess, and it's kind of a product of capitalism, needing to move around and take all these shitty jobs. It takes you away from your loved ones, and you become more alienated.
Well, you have this thing you're taught that you have to move up, and if I
also just you need to survive. It's a rough world out there. It's a rough economy.
But if I wish I had stayed in Seattle so many times. It was great. Love it there. My favorite place ever. But no, I had to move and get a job and all that kind of stuff. I mean, I could have.
Don't worry, it's just a guy out there.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
just get distracted. Sorry.
Yeah. I'm easily distracted.
Yeah, no, me too. I'm just following you with the mic. Sorry if there was a disturbance, listeners. When
I'm pouring a glass of wine now.
Just to keep you all updated. We're gonna have a video component to this soon enough.
Oh no.
Okay, so smart people in junior high. So I mean, I assume you just mean nerds, right? So, but I mean, was there other nerd stuff when you hang out with smart people? You end up playing like Dungeons and Dragons and shit. I mean, was there any of that?
No.
What flavor of smart people was this? How else would you describe your people besides smart?
Well, in junior high, probably they were nerds.
Okay.
I didn't have always the same friends in high school that I did in junior high. The people I knew in high school, are still friends today. That's kind of funny.
Yeah. And were they also like you in that they were smart but didn't try? Because that's kind of like my friends. Like, we were degenerates. Like, we have like really interesting conversations when we're together, but then, none of us really tried at school very much,
Well, I don't know how smart they were. They were cool. That was my...
That's always important, right? Yeah,
that's what I wanted.
But it's okay. So was it kind of a partying crowd?
Oh yeah.
So? Oh okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I wanted to be cool.
Partying crowd. Okay. Yeah, that's right. So you were with the crowd that I could never have been in. It had been within my high school. So you were living my dream with the cool, attractive, popular kids. Wow, that's just a way to rub it in, Kelly.
Yeah. Oh, and my boyfriend all through senior year of high school and.
Wow, and you had a boyfriend senior year is so cool.
Prom, everything. But he was, how there was a garage band, I guess you would say. The high school band, right? Yeah. That everybody thought was cool. He was a piano player.
Right. Well, so I was in a band in high school, so I hope that buys me.
What did you
junior
play?
Year. We were in. It was kind of it was like surfish alternative rock. Kind of, we called ourselves, I don't know, I called it experimental punk at the time. I don't know if that was accurate, but number one band, very good. You can check us out at boycottnestle.bandcamp.com.
This band was called, I think, Brittany Jack.
Nice. Also a good band.
Rolling, and they did like a lot of Leonard Skinner.
Oh wow, very extremely.
Stairway to Heaven.
Of course.
That kind of stuff.
All the classics. Yeah.
But the thing is, he actually was a touring musician for most of his adult life, but for the last, I don't know, 10, 20 years, which I know sounds like a long time, he still toured, but he also made films, and he won like a, whatever that award, short film award is.
Yeah, you know the one.
What is that?
You know the one. No, I don't, there's many. I don't know.
Well, it's the one you hear about.
Like, I don't know, maybe Cannes?
Yes.
Really? Cannes? Okay, yeah.
I think it was in New York.
Yeah.
It was a big one.
Yeah, right. Couldn't be taking any of them.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
So it was. So
yeah. Wow, you were hot and cool in high school. You did go fuck yourself.
And then, but that's when I learned about country music. So
that's when you learned about it. So so then that's good. You started to suffer again because the country music, country.
Yeah. Oh, and
country
Dylan.
sucks.
I started listening to Dylan.
Oh, Dylan's
all
awesome.
kinds of stuff.
Well, Dylan's not country, so that's
I know.
We can forgive that.
Bob
Dylan's.
When I branched out of my opera and classical
well,
music.
that makes sense to given your parents' generation, I guess. Yeah. Okay, so hot and cool in high school, very cool. Did that continue into college and undergrad?
Yeah, I was really cool.
Undergrad's a good time for partying too, so that makes sense.
I loved college so much. That was so fun. I mean, I lived on campus. And
I love college right now. It's the first time I've ever done the real university experience of taking a full course load of classes at an actual because I was at more of a technical college before this. I was at LA Film School, and now just being able to take just English and philosophy, it's fun. It's so fun.
I love that stuff. And everybody there, I liked talking to the professors. I liked talking to people. It was all ideas.
Yes, I love
that. That was the kind of attention I liked getting. For my brain.
Mm-hmm.
And so that made me happy. So I was very happy then.
Well, let's be real. I'm sure you were getting lots of attention for being a beautiful young woman at the time too in college. With all those horny college guys who've got cum coming out of their eyeballs. Come on, don't lie to me. Maybe not. I don't know. You're gonna report me to HR.
I did.
It's just that's the time for it. You were partying. Were you in a relationship in college?
I was probably always in a relationship.
You're like that. Okay, right.
Serially monogamous.
That's what I would be if I could. But I know that has its problems too. The people I know who have done the serial monogamy thing, I've witnessed what the problems can be. So I know that there's issues with that.
There was this one guy that I hung out with in college a lot, and his name was Ron, and we were also friends in high school. He was a year ahead of me though, and he was a journalist, and he died.
Well, you were getting a journalism and a philosophy degree.
Yeah.
When did he die?
He died. He was like 50, and he died of heart problems.
Oh, I'm sorry.
He was an alcoholic. He was overweight. He lived a very unhealthy lifestyle, but he was director of the NPR station in Little Rock.
Oh.
The news director.
Mm-hmm.
And that was his job. And he ran around and interviewed Clinton all the time. He interviewed Huckabee. I don't know if you remember.
Yeah.
Sarah Huckabee's father, other people. And he was not married. He was married. He got divorced. It doesn't matter. But that, I always kept thinking that I could have saved him. I could, if I married him like he wanted.
You can't think those things.
But then he would have not spiraled down,
Well, you don't know that for sure. These things are really difficult. Alcoholism is a tricky disease. All of these things that people struggle with are very complicated. It's never just the fault of some other person. I mean, I'm sure there were difficult, things at play in his life that made that a reality. You just really cannot think like that. I'll just be your therapist and tell you.
Well, thank you.
It's not accurate too. It's not only not healthy. It's not accurate.
Right. Well, I don't mean I'm the main thing or anything like that. I just think that. And
it's arrogant too. So let's not do that.
No.
I'm sorry for your loss.
I am so arrogant. Oh God! Every time I think about it now, I cry and cry. So yeah, I'm pretty arrogant.
Yeah, me too, big time. My pride gets in the way, and always caught up in my own story. But okay, that's sad. So damn.
Okay,
So there.
sad.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you're. I mean, that is the thing. Is when you're. When you're a catch, so to speak, you form these bonds with people. That's the downside of. But that's there. So there's this great bit in Louis where in Louis C.K.'s TV show where he's just had something has just fallen through with a woman that he was with, and he's talking to his old neighbor, this neighbor of his who's an old man, and Louis complaining about how just this relationship fell through, and then this old man is like, wow, misery is completely wasted on the miserable. He's like, this is the good stuff. The bad thing is when you reach a point where you no longer care and you're not even grieving about anything and there's not even any tragedy. He's like, if you get to a point of numbness, that's worse. That's the real bad thing. If you can actually feel sad, then that's good. It's the classic cliche. Better to have loved and lost than to never have loved at all. Life is full of loss. It's just absolutely. This is hopeless. That's a great quote from a. Sorry, I'm referencing too many things, but it's a great quote.
Fine.
Great quote from a Midnight Gospel, a show I like, is he's talking about, someone in the show is talking about a teacher of his, and he's like, yeah, the teacher told me, like, first thing, this is hopeless. Like, this life is hopeless. Like, it's the first noble truth of Buddhism is that there is suffering. The people that we know and love will suffer and die and will hurt other people, and other people will hurt us, and it's a chaotic whirlwind of suffering, and it's actually like really hard to assemble any sort of love and any sort of loving, stable community. Assembling a loving, stable community in this world is like trying to build a shack when there's like a hailstorm going on around you.
But I will do you.
But it's worthwhile to try.
Listeners.
It's worthwhile to try. It really is. It's worthwhile to try.
I will save your listeners my arguments in favor of.
Oh, go for it. Talk.
No.
Give whatever you want.
No,
Say whatever you want.
I get all this flack whenever I do this pro-suicide stuff, so I'm not going to do it.
Well, I think there is a conversation to be had about you're right in that this is a platform that a lot, or like, not a lot of people, but that people are going to be listening to, and we have to be responsible. So you're right to not bring up. You're right to not encourage us to go into a suicide conversation necessarily. But there is a philosophical conversation to be had if you are amongst company that is not going to be triggered by it. There is a philosophical discussion to be had about the fact about basically whether or not life is worth living. That's something that this philosopher Schopenhauer would talk about a lot. He would talk about and Schopenhauer was very influenced by Buddhism also, and but he would combine it with Western ideas. He would combine Eastern and Western ideas basically with a lot of pessimism, and he would examine. He would examine, just for the listeners, he would examine unflinchingly the idea of like, should we commit suicide? Is life worth living? So I think. There is there is a dry sort of intellectual conversation to be had there if you're around company that's not going to be triggered by such a conversation. But I want to be absolutely clear that when I say that life is suffering, that is not in any way an endorsement of suicide at all. That is an acknowledgement that suffering is a constant tax that we pay for any sort of progress or accomplishment in life. It's always when I say life is suffering, I don't mean that it's that I'm in a bad mood or that I'm having a bad day or that whatever.
It's just that you've done a bad set.
It's a fact. No, it's just a fact. And it's always, you're always going to have bad sets sometimes. Suffering is the most guaranteed thing. Suffering is this guaranteed constant thing. And good things have to be worked towards and built up, and they can be knocked down so easily. And this is all, of course, very cliche, and that's why I think, and this is like sort of beginner philosophy stuff a little bit, but it's like I find myself wanting to sing Chumbawamba, fucking tub thumping, I get knocked down, but I get up again.
Yeah.
And never gonna keep,
there's a song from Hamilton, which you hate.
I don't like music. I don't like any musicals, but you really have to build some cognitive dissonance to interact with this world. Because listen, there's multiple genocides going on right now. Like you have to toughen up, and there could be a solar flare that destroys the Earth. There could be Yosemite could blow up. Whatever. We have to develop the fortitude to deal with that.
I also just in case. I think you should be prepared to die.
Absolutely.
At any
moment.
moment.
Absolutely.
Have things right with people. Don't have,
Yeah, definitely.
And think about what people would have to clean up if you die.
Yeah. There's definitely some things I need to make right with people. I've made some things right recently, actually. Or I've made at least, I don't know. I've begun on a path or something. I don't know. I am really gonna try to I have plans and intentions of but yeah, I need to put it more into action. I've already done a little to kind of try to be better, and reach out to people, but I need to do more. I was having a conversation with a friend of mine when we were camping not too long ago about basically just how much of a bummer it is when you lose touch with someone for whatever reason, whether it's a burnt bridge or just drifting apart. It's good to reach out to those people. Definitely. Okay, wow, we really got lost there. Okay, so undergrad stuff. Anything else interesting from that time? Just partying. Any good stories from them, or?
I probably not really. The only thing about that's where I met my husband, but I was editor of the college newspaper, and that was fun. I always thought that I would be a journalist, but that's one regret that I have. I think I would have really liked that, but
well,
because I like talking to people and writing.
You don't need to be a professional to be a journalist. You just need to ask questions.
I just need to. Well, that's what you should do. I should do freelance work. I should try
Absolutely.
and write
Nothing's stopping you.
For I don't know, what is it? Submerge. I'm trying to think of the.
There's some journalist platform that's basically OnlyFans for journalists. I guess you could say Patreon for journalists too, where you're Substack. That's it. But no, just do it. You can just do it as a hobby. This is the mind virus of capitalism. You don't have to be a professional to be a journalist. Just do it as a hobby. Nothing's stopping you. You don't need to be a professional to be a journalist. Yeah, just all you need to do is just go out and ask questions. Literally, just pick someone to ask questions to.
Also, when you're a journalist, you'd be covering stuff that was kind of dangerous.
If you want to, not all journalists cover dangerous stuff.
But you have to learn to deal with those situations, and I think the same skills you learn doing that are the same ones you use when you're a librarian. Because you're always having to deal with people in the library that could be dangerous, right? And so you have to present yourself in a way that doesn't trigger them.
Why, in particular in the library? Are there a lot of shootings in the library?
There have been. There was maybe a year ago, this guy was banned from the library, and he walked up to the librarian and shot her in the head in the car.
Was this at a library you worked at?
No, but it was a library here.
In California?
Sacramento.
Oh, in Sacramento. Wow,
Like,
that's horrible.
Yeah, not far at all. I mean, I know.
Yeah.
I know a lot of librarians, I guess.
So you knew, wow, that's horrible.
Yes.
Jesus.
And so ever since then, the police a lot of times they'll park their cars in the library parking lots, and they're always, and libraries never turn away homeless people ever, because why would they, right?
Right.
And there can be times when homeless people will say use the bathroom, to clean up, or they will use the internet for inappropriate purposes, or they'll do something else. And
well, there's nothing wrong with using the bathroom to clean up, is there?
if it offends other people, that's a high bar. Masturbating in libraries is also inappropriate.
That's inappropriate?
You didn't know, did you?
Yeah,
But see, my job was kicking people out of the library. And I had to write letters saying, you did this is why this, letters that would hold up in court, right?
You jerked off, no coming back.
And then
all the normal stuff.
And serve them on people. People would get very, very angry and very threatening and throw things at me and that sort of thing. So it was a lot more dangerous than you would think.
Yeah. Wow.
So,
no, that does sound like a difficult job. But all right, let's go to
sorry.
You don't have to apologize for anything ever. This is your platform, your opportunity to shine. Let's go to your work as a international human rights.
Okay. Well, okay. So after college, I moved to Cincinnati, and my husband got a PhD, and I worked to put him through school, working for insurance companies. And then I went to law school, and anyway, so I went to law school. My brother wanted to be an attorney. He taught me into it, and he says, you think like this anyway, you should go. And I took the LSAT, and I did well, and then it was like free, and I had a International Human Rights Law Fellowship. So we actually had a lot of people come and speak, and we did. We had the International Human Rights Law Journal. I was editor. We all wrote and contributed. So anyway, one internship I did during the summer was for the International Human Rights Law Group in D.C., and I loved living there. I absolutely loved living there. I lived in an apartment like this. It was
That's awesome.
Yeah, I know, and I was probably your age, and you just wander around at the middle of the night by yourself. And I love the what do they call it's not the subway anymore.
The subway.
They call it something different in every town. I take that everywhere.
Maybe
everything was on a grid.
Maybe they want people to call it something different. I think everyone still calls it the subway.
Oh, okay, because sometimes it's the L, and sometimes it's
okay. Maybe people that are cooler than me call it something different.
Yeah. But I love that. And while I was there, I wrote, I want to say, a pamphlet on freedom of speech in South Korea, and another one on election law in South Korea.
Tell me about those.
Oh gosh. Well, I remember. Well, I did a lot of research, a lot of writing, but some people went to Korea, which I didn't, obviously. But
sounds fun.
Yeah, it would have been fun. And they named it To the Precipice and Beyond. And I kept saying, no, you don't want to say to the precipice and beyond, because a precipice is like something you jump off, lemmings. A precipice is an edge.
Now we're back to the suicide.
Well, I'm like, you don't want to go precipice and beyond, because that's...
Then you're committing suicide. Then you're jumping off a cliff.
It's bad, and they wanted to indicate it's getting better, but anyway, I did not win that conversation. So that was fun. And then, so what did I do after that? Oh yeah, I graduated from law school.
Anything more that can you describe the nature of the work with the free speech? What was the issue with free speech in South Korea? What was not free about speech that needed to be?
Well, I mean, it's still very much an authoritarian regime.
Right. We talked about this before going live. It's a lot of countries in Asia. Even the more leftist ones, it's a more authoritarian breed of leftism usually.
Yeah. So and again, this was what, 30 years ago? I'm trying to think. Say 85.
So like there wasn't freedom of the press there. Was it an issue where the press needed to like report national propaganda?
There wasn't one issue that we were talking about. It was just the system.
Overall, there was not free speech.
And the election law was, they wanted to have election observers. The people they went to South Korea and they observed the elections, and that was pretty cool. Again.
But you didn't go?
No, of course not.
Okay. Yeah.
I was no one.
No, but you...
No, I was the best intern they ever had.
Did you have the choice of going? And you
No.
refused? Or okay. Well,
No.
right.
No.
That would have been cool, but well. I mean, was there anything else interesting that you learned in that time, kind of studying North Korea? Or South Korea, sorry, yeah.
Well, everything I learned was new because I was not used to Asian countries. I was much more well versed in, of course, the First Amendment here and everything else. So it was all new to me. But
and sorry, can you go into any more of like what so you said it was very multifaceted, and continues to be very multifaceted, the free speech issues in South Korea. Can you go into any dimension of that, or like how much do you remember? Was there free press like at all?
Yeah, there was, and I have large gaps in my memory. Well,
no worries, don't we all?
Yeah, and I can't tell you. I can't tell you more.
No worries.
But hey.
So okay, we can move on.
I can bring you. I'll bring you the book tonight.
Okay. I'll at least I get to learn them. That's good. Okay, and so your work at this when you moved to Seattle, you worked for what I understand to be the Man. I mean, was it the Man? It seems like you said you busted up unions. That sounds so. How were you able to work at a place like that? How were you able to reconcile that within yourself?
I wanted money.
Right.
Well, I only worked there for 3 years, and first of all, let me tell you that this was Perkins Coie, the biggest law firm in Seattle. I worked on the highest floor of the prettiest building.
And are you allowed to talk about it? You're not contractually bound not to talk about it, or okay, all right,
no,
that's good.
But that Perkins Coie, the DC branch, it's got branches everywhere. They were they're the attorneys for the Democratic National Party, and they are the ones who commissioned. They hired Fusion GPS, right? They hired. It's opposition research.
Okay.
They hired Christopher Steele of the Steele Report.
Okay.
Do you remember that?
I don't know.
They dug up all this dirt on Trump.
Okay.
And Russia, and including the
that Russia stuff was so. They really should not have. This is a tangent I shouldn't go down, but they really should not have focused so hard on Russia during the. There was so much impeachable stuff for Trump, and the Russia stuff was the weakest stuff back in the with the first impeachment. They really should have just impeached for something else. But sorry.
He did so many things.
Exactly.
So,
and they just only did the Russia. But so this
this is the Christopher Steele report is the one that had the golden showers in it. The prostitutes peed on him in Russia.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, they just gathered everything. They didn't say this is true, not true. They just gathered everything that they were saying about Trump. So that's a big thing.
And
but anyway,
he worked at this law firm that you worked at?
This was the law firm that I worked at is the one that...
Christopher Steele also worked at?
Yeah, contractor, yeah.
Okay, so kind of a
he was
sort of a connection.
He was an ex-spy.
Mm.
He was like ex-CIA, I think.
Mm.
So he was just somebody they hired to, do the research. He wasn't. He didn't work for the firm or anything like that.
Okay, yeah.
So there was GPS. Perkins Coie worked for the Democratic National Committee. The Democratic National Committee hired GPS Fusion, which was an opposition research company. They hired the spy.
So you're kind of vaguely connected to this guy. Yeah.
And only the...
Vegas.
Yeah, no, that's the kind of big man stuff they did.
Yeah,
and the Spotted Owls.
This is weird then that this group that you're part of, this law firm worked for the Democratic National Committee, and you busted up unions. This law firm that worked for the Democratic National Committee also busted up unions.
You think the Democratic National Committee is
it's
that much different from...
okay, I know that the Democratic Party isn't a socialist party, obviously, but doesn't it at least pretend to be like a labor populist party?
Yeah.
Yeah, so what's the deal? What gives?
I don't know.
We're exposing them now.
They make lots of money. They'll make... I mean, they have a lot of money. The Democratic.
Well, and they pretend to be a labor populist party. So what the fuck with this working with this, bastard law group that you worked with?
Look at all the presidential candidates and how much money they take and took. And they're all millionaires anyway. They wrote books or billionaires or whatever.
Yeah.
So,
not Bernie.
But no, I used to. They had unions and logging. I remember logging. They were trying to unionize something about the spotted owl, and then I remember writing stuff about that, to try and find some reason why they didn't fit into a class.
Okay. Yeah.
So
all right. So big corporate work in Seattle.
Yeah. If I may.
Yeah.
Everything that's going on now with the police use of force, shooting or killing unarmed black men, or I won't even include. I can't include mass shootings in that, although all the gun
that's a
stuff
different
is.
type of
I know, but it's all gun stuff. Anyway, that to me is like the biggest civil rights. It's like we don't have civil rights here. Our civil rights are being...
Wait, okay, you think the biggest threat to civil rights right now is police brutality against black people? You think that's the number one issue? I think
it's the thing that made me think we're not better than any other country.
There is a lot. I mean, if you need to, the game of comparing oppression is a disgusting game that we shouldn't play. But there's all sorts of oppression going on in the United States right now. All sorts of oppression.
But it was just a
And black people, I don't think are in the worst position of anyone in the United States. I don't think you can really make a strong. There's minority groups that are in at least one. At least trans people are pretty obviously in a less franchised position right now than black people.
And there was, I don't know about that, but there's been a whole lot of Asian violence against Asian people.
Look up rates for transgender suicide and transgender hate crimes and compare them to this, and compare them to figures or don't compare them, but just there's a lot of different civil rights groups. There's a lot of different groups that need rights right now. There's a lot that's fucked. Let's not get into comparison. Let's not do that. There's a lot that's fucked. But yeah, I don't want to. I don't know what I'm saying. I don't want to minimize anything, but I mean, it's the systemic. The United States is a racist country. That I mean, that is that is a matter of fact. The United States
starting off, yeah.
The United States is a country that generally just there's a lot of different axes that you need to you know how beneficial the U.S. will be to you, and like what there's a lot of different caste separation across material line across class lines and across minority lines. So, but I mean this actually can get into kind of an interesting discussion if you want about material about do we need more of a material agenda or a race oriented agenda? I think that we an identity oriented agenda. I think that we totally clearly need the most urgent thing that we need is a class oriented material agenda to lift people out of poverty and give people health care. And I think a lot of the police stuff is a matter of just starting off with very basic common sense regulations and reducing the funding that police departments get, and pouring more of that into more non-threatening forms of public service. Defund the police. I don't like that. I don't love that slogan rhetorically, but in terms of it's there's the police thing is we can start with a few basic common sense things the camera, the body cameras, and in Madison, my hometown, police are required to have a bachelor's degree. I think with the police thing, we need more. We need these basic common sense regulations. We need more Black Lives Matter protests, and we need more verdicts like the Chauvin one. And I think those are on the way. I think we're moving in the right direction. Mm-hmm. Hopefully, the police reform thing is going to be the most difficult one, and we're a long way from the finish line there, and we need to keep fighting. But the most crucial thing right now, I don't think is I don't know. I mean, like I say, comparing this stuff is disgusting. But for me right now, the most urgent thing is a class-oriented material agenda.
No, I think that's good. That would affect everyone.
Yeah, come on, Kelly. Are you looking something up right now?
I am. I don't know why, but I was struck, I think, by the haunted look in their eyes. And
in whose eyes?
The police shooters, and I wanted to capture that.
The police that shot.
Yeah. Who? So I drew a series
of that's Derek Chauvin.
Yes, that's him, and that's
drew a portrait of Derek Chauvin.
Kim Potter.
Wow.
And
wow.
I forget their other names, but they just look so haunted. I just wanted to capture that, but it's not the kind of thing you can do anything with.
I mean, no, sure you could. Some people would appreciate that.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about my T-shirts now?
Your T-shirts? What are you really dying to promote them? I was really hoping we could. I mean, truly, genuinely, I was really hoping we could have if you want to get into an area of serious congenial discussion, I mean,
yes.
You say that the top line issue for you is police brutality against Black people. Okay, defend your position. That's your top line issue. Go. Sorry, I'm being so combative.
No, that's fine.
I don't want to just have a freshman in college jerk off. I want to have real. Okay. I want to hear dissenting opinions.
Oh. Oh God.
I disagree. I think we need a class-oriented material agenda. I think economic policy is a more urgent focus than I think Medicare for all, stuff like this is maybe a little bit more urgent, a little bit more of a top-line issue right now.
Then the police. Killing
but it's not an either or. That's the thing. Socialists are all on the right side of this issue.
It was. I'm not saying it's a top priority issue. I'm saying I always thought that aren't we lucky to live in the United States? You know, a place where you have these freedoms they don't have in other places, blah blah blah, and then it hit me that it was just a ding, you know, moment that we're not, you know, and I had been,
and that didn't arrive until recently.
Not as it may have arrived before, and I don't remember it, but it really hit me. It just really hit me that people can. I mean, it's the state. It's the state killing people. It's I don't know. It reminds me of, you know, what they do in Hong Kong, what they do in other places, and the protest that they say are you know, Antifa or Black Lives Matter protesting, all that stuff. It's just like, and the press is the enemy of the people. All this kind of stuff. I mean, I cried when on January 6th when they had the insurrection. I was like, do I need to leave the country? If so, where am I going to go? You know, what am I going to do? But no, of course, if everyone had the same opportunities and had the same, if everyone had health care, if everyone had a living wage, if everyone had social services, everything, of course, that was.
This is the most important stuff.
Would there be? I mean, I don't want to say everybody would be the same.
Of course not. No one's saying that. No one's saying that. That's the.
That's the bottom. I mean, that's the bottom line issue. If we were all, and this is going to sound even worse than junior high, but you know, why can't we all get along?
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's get into some strategies for getting along then. Or I don't know. Yeah, the sentiment is 100% agreed. Cliches are cliche for a reason. Totally. Why can't we all just get along? Right. Definitely. For me, my personality is very combative and very like, I like to fight, and that's just like a form of love for me. Like that's how I love is just by fighting in a way, you know.
Yeah, no, I that's the kind of relationship I had with my father, and there are some people that I have that relationship with, but yeah, mostly I just try to be nice to people and get along with people, and you know, I want everyone to like me. That's some sort of disease.
Of course, yeah, we're all comedians. Right?
Yeah,
we all have that disease.
Yeah, but I don't. I mean, I'm not. Geez, how do we combat that? There are so many people who are so racist. I mean, you hear that every day.
Yeah,
right?
Racism is a tricky issue. Yeah, and again, it just goes back to people would be less racist if they were better fed and taken care of, and if they could go to college, and so. Yeah, socialism. All right.
You know, free college. That.
Yeah, the president could do it with a stroke of the pen.
Yeah,
we spend more than that on wars, so why not on free college?
And I'm never a Biden fan. Never. Thought he was really losing it, but I'm very impressed. He hasn't wandered off topic. You know, since he's been president, it gives me hope for being 75 years old.
Yeah.
And
he's older than that. He's in his late 70s, I think.
Yeah, and then Ruth Bader Ginsburg was what, 80? I forget. Anyway.
Yeah. She should have. I think we talked about this yesterday. She should have retired. During Obama's.
Yeah, and I don't think so. Because
that's fair, because it's a principled stance. It's just about like, you know.
Okay, name the justices on the Supreme Court.
Because I'm more craven. That's why I wanted her to do that.
1, 2, 3, go.
I'll name as many as I can. This is embarrassing.
There are 12. No, I'm just kidding.
Ruth Bader Ginsburg, or not her anymore.
Not her.
No. Amy Coney Island.
Yeah.
Amy.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. That's her name.
Yeah, John Kennedy, right?
John Kennedy.
No, John Roberts, right?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, no, all right.
They started well.
The one who drank beer.
Yeah. Okay, what's his name?
The Trump-appointed one.
I hated watching that.
Oh, that was so sad. Yeah, that was too bad.
He obviously did it.
Yeah, probably.
Brad?
What's his name? Brett Kavanaugh. That's it.
That's
three. You
three.
kind of gave that one to me a little bit.
That's three.
But okay,
right?
Brett Kavanaugh. Who else?
We talked about him yesterday.
Scalia died.
Right. Scalia died.
Yeah, good riddance.
He was an opera buff. What can I say? He and Ruth Bader Ginsburg were really good friends. There you go.
Yeah. Whatever.
So there's who are the two women, the liberal women? Classify them.
Right. The Hispanic one. The Hispanic one and the white one. Right?
Yeah. There's Elena Kagan, and now I'm blanking.
Yeah.
I'll come back to it.
Elena Kagan, that's got to be the hottest member of the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
Right?
Huh.
Yeah, I think I can picture her. She's the blonde, right?
No. She's
that's Amy Coney Barrett.
No, yeah, she's blonde.
Yeah.
There's one that has kind of red hair. Anyway, okay, there's the two women. So that's 5. So we have 4 more left. Yeah. Okay. Who's Long John Silver? Is that a pubic hair on your Coke?
I don't know.
Does this?
Clarence
Thomas.
Oh, there. Okay, yeah.
Anita
I should have known him. Anita Hill. I don't think I would have guessed.
Oh well, no, she was the one who accused him. It was a lot like Brett Kavanaugh in that actually Joe Biden is the one who led the questioning or the confirmation hearing on Clarence Thomas, and he's a black guy. He's the only black guy. He's pretty old too. He should retire. He's nuts. Yeah. He is effing nuts.
Oh. He's one of the conservative judges.
Oh, very, very
right.
The worst.
Appointed by HW.
Gosh.
All of the conservative justices suck. Conservatives in general suck.
I want to say 92.
Because
I watched all those.
Must have been HW.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah.
Okay. I can Stephen Breyer. We had this conversation.
Stephen Breyer is another one. Okay.
He's the senior justice. He's the oldest one. He was he's the most liberal, and people want him to retire too, so they can name someone younger. So yeah.
That would be good.
No.
Or well, I don't know. Whatever. Okay. Yeah. Should we grab power? I think so. I'm a fan of leftists getting better at wielding power because conservatives know how to wield power.
Oh yeah.
We don't know how to wield power.
Absolutely.
We need to learn how to wield power.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. So okay, well in our I want to make sure we do a decent amount of leftism before we're out of here. So tell me who is the first leftist intellectuals or speakers or politicians or whoever who first got you thinking about your mom? I don't maybe her or talk to me about your initial political stuff. Because I was a student journalist, so I was educated on politics in Arkansas, right? Mm-hmm. Which was a good thing at the time. I mean, because Clinton was there, so it gave you all these other things. I'd seen them, of course. My cousin Stan. He was actually my father's cousin. He's my first cousin once removed. Doesn't matter. Anyway, he was a state senator in Arkansas for the longest serving state senator in Arkansas history before term limits were introduced. And so he was a Democrat. And he was really great. You were a fan of his? Yeah.
Oh yeah, big fan.
Hey, does it remind me of his name?
Stan Russ.
Stan Russ. Okay.
Yeah, and he was whenever the governor was out, he would be the temporary governor pro tem because he was the senior serving elect.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, he when he first got elected, and again, this is a small place. He suspected voter fraud because this one guy was getting a lot of votes, and he wasn't as many as he thought. Mm-hmm. So he had all these law students come down to be election observers, right? Mm-hmm. And they found out that this guy, the sheriff, mm-hmm. he had his deputies come around and try to intimidate people for voting. Mm-hmm. He had all kinds of tactics that they do. And they found out that there were more votes in the ballot box than there were voters, mm-hmm. and he won because he challenged it. So he was one of the first people to do voter fraud legislation. He introduced that as soon as he got in, and so that was an important thing.
Okay.
And then when he retired, he was very old, and he would walk along the highway and pick up trash.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I mean, that's just the kind of person he was.
And he was a state legislator?
Mm-hmm.
Or, okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. Remind me of his name one more time?
Stan Russ.
Stan Russ.
R-U-S-S.
Everyone look up Stan Russ, Arkansas state legislator. That's
yes.
awesome.
Yeah, he was pretty awesome.
Yeah, cool. Okay, so you were a Stan Russ fan. Did you ever see him speak in person?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I saw him every Sunday at dinner, but...
Oh, what? Tell me about that.
Oh, well, my grandmother, my father's mother, my father's family, so we moved back to Arkansas because my grandfather died. And they had a farm. They had, they grew cotton, soybeans, and my father took over running it. Even though it was really my grandmother's farm, her husband ran it. Because women, of course, couldn't run anything, but of course she could run everything, and she did run everything. It was just a lie.
Oh.
But they had like one of those, and I was married in this house. 3-story turrets, wraparound porch, big magnolia in the front. A stone thing with a ring on it so that you could attach your horses. Very nice house, built in 1890. They had servant girls.
Interesting.
Yeah, you can look up. I mean, yeah, they did. I have letters. I have, you can look at this since I. But they had a lot of land, and they were pretty wealthy. So.
Who is this?
My father's, my grandmother, everybody,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Everybody in that family was either a doctor or a lawyer, and you were expected to be a doctor or lawyer.
Yeah. So I take it your majoring in philosophy and journalism initially was maybe a little bit of a beginning of counterculture sort of leanings from you, right? Which hopefully ties back into the leftism, and we can talk about more.
Sure,
there was Russ, and then who else?
The one thing about my grandmother that I want to throw in here is she every Christmas we anyway, people would come to the back door, right?
Are we still talking about your house?
My grandmother in her 3-story house. They would come to the back door and knock on the back door, and my grandmother would, of course, go to the door, and they would say hello, hat in hands, whatever. And she would always bring a present. She always had presents wrapped up and ready to go, right? Food. All food. And she would give it to them for the people that came to the back door. And she would say, we were there, and she'd say, "This is Mr. Nichols."
Just random people would come to the back door?
No, they would be her former servants.
Oh.
This is Mr. So-and-so, you will treat him with respect. And these were all black people that used to work for her. That should have been, I should have made that clear from the beginning. But I don't know. I mean, this is maybe not, but she would always say, you know, this is Mr. So-and-so. You will treat him with respect. She always, I don't know.
Well, that's very nice. Yeah, all right. Well,
it's the least she could have done.
I really don't know what to make of that story at all. No worries. Okay, so were there any early leftist intellectuals that you like to read?
Well,
Eugene Debs. Right?
Yeah, philosophy. Yeah. I read everything. And everything I read, you know, at that moment, I totally believed it.
Have you read the Communist Manifesto?
I think so. I'm pretty sure I have.
Okay.
I mean, I know I read Marx and Engels and...
yeah, those are our boys, Marx and Engels.
Yeah. I have always thought that communism is obviously the way to go.
Okay, well, sell me on it, because I'm a socialist, not a communist.
Yeah, well that works better. Communist, it doesn't always work well, in theory. Never works well that I've seen.
Well, maybe at some
socialism.
things. Like Cuba, in Cuba, people are really well fed and people have health care, but it's the literacy is kind of poor, the education's not great, they're very isolated. Yeah. I mean,
I thought their education was pretty good, but I was thinking of the Scandinavian countries.
Well, they're not communists; they're socialists,
right?
And it's market socialism too. Go ahead. As opposed to non-market socialism. Sorry, I believe they're market socialist countries. It's a social democracy. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so we were celebrating Marx's birthday yesterday. Are you pretty familiar with Marx, or do you kind of remember? I mean, you must be if you're saying you always thought communism was the way. I mean, he kind of really laid that out for the first time.
Have you ever heard of John Rawls?
John Rawls? No,
Rawls, R-A-W-L-S, or Nozick, N-O-Z-I-C-K. Those are the people that, John Rawls, I have their books, and I read John a year ago. I know I read some of
John Rawls, and who's the other one?
Nozick.
Nozick?
N-O-Z-I-C-K.
Okay.
John Rawls is A Theory of Justice. He wrote A Theory of Justice, and Nozick wrote Anarchy, State, and Utopia. Okay. John, I'll tell about John, but Nozick is a libertarian, total, complete libertarian.
Okay.
And he wrote his stuff in response to Rawls. Okay. So Rawls' theory is, imagine, there's nothing. There's no government. There's no nothing. We're in a place of not knowing anything about ourselves. And so it's possible that we could be in the worst situation in society, right? Or we could be in the best.
If there's no government, there's a possibility that could either be the worst or the best, he's saying?
There's no this is before there was government. So we're deciding upon our form of government.
Okay, for sure.
There is nothing. Yeah. And you could end up the best or you could end up the worst. Yeah. So you're going to mitigate your risks. You're going to make it so everybody is on an equal footing. Mm-hmm. And
everyone's on equal footing. How so? Like you're talking about democracy, making sure everyone.
Yeah, democracy, socialism.
Okay. So, but this wasn't
to give everybody. Go ahead.
But this person wasn't literally,
He did not. He did not speak.
Yeah, but he wasn't literally deciding on a country's government. I mean, this was all theoretical, right? He was just saying,
it was like
he was saying if you were to design a government,
exactly.
He was speaking from a pre-government perspective.
Exactly.
Gotcha, yeah. No, that's totally how politics works. You're always just trying to looking at what the net positive is. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, for sure.
Exactly.
Sweet.
So that's something I read. That's something I read a long, long time ago, but it just resonates with me, and I've always believed it.
Well, I mean, yeah,
I wish
of
I
course.
could, yeah.
Of course we believe that. That basically what we should have democracy and try to have the government that best serves the people. Yeah, absolutely. And that's why it's so ridiculous when libertarians talk about, just that government sucks and fuck taxes. It's like, well, do you like roads? Do you like electricity, building codes?
I'm happy to give as much of my,
Yeah. Well, because you're a common sense, Yeah.
People
Exactly.
want to keep their stuff, and they're like, I earned it. Okay.
It's like, no, you didn't. There's a lot of investing that was done ahead of time that paved the road. Sometimes literally paved the road for you to be able to. No, that's the problem with libertarian thinking is it demonstrates a lack of understanding of the infrastructure that allowed them to succeed. But we love our libertarian friends. That's just my
and
perspective.
I don't know. We're not all going to be successful.
Yeah.
Like libertarians hope to be. And I think they will be. I think that's sort of a posit for the whole theory, the whole system. That you do what you want to do, that thing is going to be good.
And our ability to survive.
And you're not going to do something purposely bad.
To me, pretty clearly, your worth as a human is not based on your output. Just obviously. Mm-hmm. That's obvious to both of us.
What is your worth as a human based on then?
It's automatic and intrinsic. It's all people are worthy in my view, and the stuff that's like people being impressive or it's good to be good, and we should value good people and appreciate the good people in our lives. And I'm not saying that it's all just totally happenstance, but being a good person is also self-serving. It's like I say, there are no happy people. There are no good people and bad people. Just happy people and miserable people. So I tend to theorize that helping people is the answer for getting people to be less chaotic and destructive.
I think that. Well, I think one person can be both happy and sad.
How's that?
Easily. And
can you go into
people are complicated.
Explain that for me? Can you explain how you'd be happy and sad?
Well, yeah. There's if you're bipolar, for example,
Mm-hmm.
but you don't have to be bipolar.
Right.
There are a lot of things, I suppose, to be happy about, but there are a lot of things not to be happy about.
It's like the cognitive dissonance that I was talking about earlier. You need to develop some fortitude to be able to deal with the world. You can't be too fragile.
Yeah,
people need to toughen up.
Yeah, I'm entirely too fragile. Somebody told me, "Oh,
But
you're tough. Oh, you're tough. You can handle it." I'm like, "No, you want to think I'm tough,
mm-hmm.
so you can walk away and not feel bad."
But you do need to. I mean, to some degree, people can't be saved, and you need to, people can only be saved to a certain degree. I know what it's like to be like petulant and to be like wanting and to be vampiric and to be trying to suck people into my sadness, and that's not good. And when you're like that, you really almost need people to like leave you alone and to like isolate you. I've actually found myself being grateful sometimes for people, as weird as this sounds, people not wanting to hang out with me has kind of like helped me learn that, oh yeah, I need to be an enjoyable person. If I want people to give me love, I have to be enjoyable, to be around. And it's like I said on a previous podcast, yes, we need to work hard not to offend people, but yes, also we need to. It's like try hard not to offend, and try even harder not to be offended. You know, that's my philosophy.
When I say people are complicated, I'm thinking of, and I'm not saying I'm big fans of these people, but examples are men who have been accused, convicted, whatever, sexual abuse. Now, a lot of young people today, like your age, just like, I don't know, Woody Allen, what's his name, Harvey Weinstein, Bill Clinton.
Those aren't young people.
No, but that's what
yeah.
you young people, say, oh, he's evil, I can't, anything else he's
Some
done.
of us. I don't even know if that many of us demonize.
That's what I've had discussions, and it's just like,
Maybe
that's
some of
it,
us.
cut off, dead. And I'm like, wait a minute, just because these people acted badly in this area of their life doesn't mean they didn't in another area of their life. They could still make funny movies. Or they could still be humanitarian. They could still do a lot of things.
Yeah, some people are just triggered by the art of people who have been abusers, and so they can't watch that art, and that's okay. We shouldn't force Woody Allen movies on anyone, obviously.
Not even the
but
really
I like
funny
your
ones,
sentiment.
that's a
I
joke.
love your sentiment. Let's not demonize people. People that there are no good people and bad people, just happy people and miserable people, and when people hurt people, it's because they're miserable. Except in the case of there are some crazy people who are just genuinely crazy and cannot be helped, and they're like, yeah, I just like to rape or kill or whatever because I like to rape and kill. It's just what I like to do.
Yeah,
and I can't be
that
helped.
could-
But
that's a
most
different
people
category.
can be helped. A vast majority of people can be helped if we just extend them compassion. Absolutely. That's a beautiful note to end on. We need to end with. We need to stop with
Anytime
all
you
this.
give,
No more demonization of people. Let's be done with that as a society.
well, you also giving men so much power, and to me, what do I know? Men who are sexually abusing women, they're just exercising power. They're just trying to.
That's what they say, right? Ugh, this is a dark corner to back ourselves into, right when we're near the very end of the podcast. You know,
are we?
yeesh, yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, sexual abuse is absolutely tragic. It's like, but I mean, it's. I remember what Jerry Seinfeld said. He was like, the Me Too stuff doesn't surprise me at all. It's horrible, but it doesn't surprise me. And he's like, men will go after women, and women will go after men. Like it's you know, we have a long history of you know, men being these stupid oafs with big muscles who are able to you know, wield power, and now women are just kind of just in general now in some societies we're finally starting to create an equitable playing field where it's not basically about I mean, that's what democracy is about, right? It's about placing value in each human life and not having it be these stupid, superficial things that give people power, but rather placing power in each individual to shape society into what they want it to be.
That's the ideal, isn't
That's
it?
democracy, yeah. That's when we need to make this country more democratic.
Yeah, and people who don't vote.
Fuck them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and if you're someone who's like a Bernie bro like me, or like you won't vote for like a Biden or something, just grow up. You need to learn when you have political leverage and when you don't, you know, and it's about being, a vote is a utilitarian thing.
I'm also a poll worker, volunteer to be.
That's nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, that's very nice. Maybe that would be a good note to end on then. We usually just do
already?
like an hour and a half. Yeah.
You're
That was
kidding.
fun. We laughed, we cried, we
I
fought.
feel like
we went through all the emotions.
Now I have
We'll
to
have
go
you back on
again.
Yeah, we'll have you back on again. All right. Thanks for being here, everyone.
Okay.
Peace.
Bye.